Since personal computers, the biggest use I can think of is to play games and do less important stuff like homework. Even if we feel guilty about playing games 18 hours a day, they are just getting so much better. The story, gameplay, and graphics, most importantly, have got so good in the past few years, it is nearly impossible to not drool over a game and purchase it in the next few hours of release if not pre-ordered. But these games do not just happen over time. It takes dedication, strategy, masterminds, and above all, a lot of money to make a game with a story of even a few hours. You would be surprised to find out how much most of our favourite games cost to create and make our days better. So in today's video, we will talk about some of the most expensive games ever made. Make sure you watch the video until the end, because what we have on number 1 might surprise you. Number 10. Final Fantasy VII. Speaking of games, it's hard to skip Final Fantasy VII, and you know it would show up eventually, and on this list it did a little too early. It's just one of those seminal classics that defined a genre and has found its way to the top of many gamers' top games of all time lists. If you are or have been a fan of the Final Fantasy franchise, the story and how the game plays, you would agree how amazingly done this one was. A lot of the budget was dedicated to the extreme shift in cinematic quality from Final Fantasy VI, not to mention that this was the first entry on a CD, allowing for even more developers' capabilities. With $114 million to spend, Square created a truly memorable gaming experience that was well worth every penny. Great gameplay, great music, and everything in between. Number 9. Halo 2. At number 9 we have Halo 2, one of the most significant games in video games development history. It was developed by game developer Bungie, and they knocked it out of the park with the original franchise Halo Combat Evolved. When Halo 2 was announced, all eyes were on them. They had to deliver not only the same addictive FPS gameplay, but they also had to bring their next Halo game into the multiplayer market. They did this, and they did it well. With a budget of production of $120 million, Bungie pulled out all the stops when creating a great single-player experience. Still, it made the Halo multiplayer experience one that would prove revolutionary and created a game that became a guide for many titles to emulate for years to come. After 10 years of its release, people are still playing this game like it was released yesterday. Number 8. Dead Space. Released in 2008, Dead Space took over 3 years in development and fulfilled the desire to make somewhat of a spiritual successor to the System Shock series for the PC. The game's story is set in the far future. The protagonist, Isaac Clarke, searches for his girlfriend through a derelict space station infested with bloodthirsty aliens. Nice. Being one of the lead developers, Glenn Schofield wanted to bring about a blend of System Shock, the recently popular Resident Evil 4, and Event Horizon, the sci-fi film classic. With a budget of $120 million, Schofield and his team achieved all of that and more. It was one of the most popular games of its time, with a perfect blend of survival stories and graphics. Number 7. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, who hasn't played Tomb Raider? I remember playing the game on Pentium 3 when the best we can get was block graphics. Still, the story was satisfying with enough puzzles that made my keyboard take an occasional beating. In 2013, the title got its reboot, and it was great. Selling millions of copies in the first 48 hours of its release proved the fanbase it had years ago. The reboot featured a new look for Lara Croft and her insane skills, which helped her become the legendary Tomb Raider she was always known. In the reboot series, Shadow of the Tomb Raider upped the stakes with a huge budget of $125 million. Shadow of the Tomb Raider received generally good reviews across the board. On Metacritic, it received 77, 75, 82 for PC, PS4, and Xbox One respectively. Number 6. Destiny. Destiny is the kind of game that gets to back when there was nothing better than playing the game or thinking about playing it when doing anything else. If you occasionally avoid the action, the experience of riding the sweet sci-fi bike around the lonely Dark Moon landscapes, raiding and partaking in what Bungie does best, killing aliens. Destiny was the new IP from Bungie after Halo, and people were champing at the bit to get their hands on it. It had a huge budget of $140 million to produce, and its money well spent. Of course, like many games, Destiny wasn't an easy release at the start. Since it's always online, you're of course going to come across issues. However, I think it really leveled out and became a quick classic. Number 5. Star Citizen. This one is a bit of a controversial entry. The budget of Star Citizen is over $180 million. However, it is still under development and the budget keeps growing. Chris Roberts, the Wing Commander series made famous in the 1990s, initially started the ambitious project as a Kickstarter. People quickly ate it up, wanting a new, more modern successor to the Wing Commander games. The biggest problem with Star Citizen is that it seems Roberts and his team keep raking the money in and not delivering on promises. Sure, sometimes they showed impressive game demos, but they keep pushing back dates and acquiring more money. Personally, I hope that Star Citizen is released and is the Wing Commander game we all needed. However, the controversy surrounding it is unsettling, to say the least. Number 4. Star Wars: The Old Republic. The Old Republican was a treat for us Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic fans out there. Knights of the Old Republic was one of the favourite games ever. It was on board with a sweet MMORPG set in the same great Star Wars universe. It was announced to be in development in 2008, and after much anticipation, it was released in 2011. The Star Wars franchise should be taken seriously in terms of money, which is no different. The budget BioWare was working with at the time was around $200 million. As a gamer who was patiently waiting for another entry to the KOTOR series, this was the next best thing. Number 3. Call of Duty: Modern Warfare 2. Released back in 2009, this Call of Duty franchise is one of the most loved games of its time. The heart-touching story brought out the feels, and flawless multiplayer made it the perfect game to battle friends over online sessions. Newer Call of Duty titles have since spruced up and usurped Modern Warfare 2 as successors. But one thing Modern Warfare 2 had going for it was the insane budget. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 had a staggering budget of $250 million, and it didn't just recover every penny spent, it earned huge profits. Number 2. Grand Theft Auto 5. GTA is a title that does not need any explanation. Either you have played it, not it is not acceptable that you have never heard of the master price. In 2013, Grand Theft Auto 5 launches Rockstar to new horizons. In its first 3 days of its launch, it made $1 billion in sales. With a huge budget of $265 million, Grand Theft Auto 5 has surpassed every expectation laid out before it. The budget Rockstar had, combined with dedication, really paid off, giving the player a memorable experience that still holds to this day in the form of Grand Theft Auto Online, which continues to rake in insane amounts of money for the company. Number 1. Red Dead Redemption 2. After the release of Grand Theft Auto 5 and becoming the best game ever, instead of going with Grand Theft Auto 6 after 7 years of production, Rockstar did what they do best. They gave us Red Dead Redemption 2 after spending $644.2 million in production costs. The graphics, gameplay and story are again worth every penny spent. If you want to enjoy a game that promises an experience that will keep you hooked for hours, and you have never played this before, I welcome you to a whole new world. So, which one of these are your favourite games of all time? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more. See you in the next one.